Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Totally Not Mark. We're continuing with his Naruto reviews. Next Tuesday, I'll probably be back on the One Piece reviews, and what I'll do is, I'll continue with these Naruto reviews as well, but have them on a different day. Or, actually, scheduling might be different. But anyway, basically, I'll be covering the Naruto reviews and carrying on with the One Piece reviews. Last week, he covered the opening, obviously, because it was part 1, and I felt like he should have talked about Zabuza and Haku a little bit more. For me, that's one of the most important bits about it, and the whole thing with Haku is what starts him off with his ninja way. But we're covering the Chunin Exams now, which is a bit disappointing. I was hoping that like part 1 maybe would have been, I don't know. But hey ho, it's Mark's review, it's his personal opinion and what he thinks, and he's allowed that, so that is fine. I would have covered Haku and Zabuza a little bit more. Let's see what he thinks about the Chunin Exams.
In the first part of this series, I pointed out some issues I had with the material, from pacing to some short instances where it felt
like the opening is slow. I agreed with him on that.
It unequivocally won me over through the level of care and passion Kishimoto clearly demonstrated for the character of Naruto and the wider world he inhabits. From that point on, I knew this story had something to it, something I didn't expect to see. And going into this second arc, I was optimistic, but concerned that it wouldn't live up to the climax of the previous installment. That I had seen the very best Kishimoto had to offer.
The Chunin Exams are incredible though, so yeah.
Either be more of the same, or
it's really not.
A slight decline.
It's really not.
Little did I know,
oh
I
god.
was about to read an arc that would exceed any and every expectation I'd had for this series.
Hell yes.
So far,
Chunin Exams.
Naruto seems to be full of surprises.
Just take it before to turn your back on me. I won't be your god.
This arc was phenomenal.
Yeah, he loved it. Awesome.
First video and turning them on their heads to make one of the most competently well-written arcs I've digested.
Chunin Exams, amazing.
Funny, thrilling, philosophical, and stunning.
So many characters, and they get backstories, and it's nice and and
I can't wait to discuss
what made Sasuke cooler.
One or two areas where I was a little unsure. Right from the get-go of this arc, it wastes no time at all establishing what the goals of our main trio will be and what the goal of the arc is. Where I felt the first arc's prologue was weighed down by its establishing of these characters, causing it to feel a little rough around the edges. This arc
needed it. It was opening, wasn't it? Yeah.
Polished gem, utilizing all the pre-existing relationships we're familiar
with. Yeah, now we've established them. It's fine.
In this story being told here. Naruto still wants to prove himself and to become the next
Hokage.
And now he has the chance to achieve the level of journeyman ninja, the same level as Iruka, his only
Iruka-sensei.
And one that throughout this arc makes it clear that he believes that Naruto and Ko are not ready, and confronts Kakashi about this directly. It's cute and it adds more drama going into the exams for us, and makes us ask the question, what will these exams be like? Sasuke's motivation is in comparison a lot more, or at least it is early on. He's sick of going on meaningless, nothing missions that don't push his abilities. From the very beginning, his character has had one express motivation: to avenge his family. And this arc
the art style in the first part of Naruto is so much better than Shippuden, man.
As he expresses excitement over finally getting a chance to test his abilities against worthy adversaries. The results are some of the most shocking moments in the series so far. However, for me, the best part
curse mark.
build-ups has to be the indication we get of something meaningful finally happening.
Sakura versus Ino. She cut off her hair.
Compared to the other characters, she didn't really have much depth. She was less like a character and more like a useful mechanism in the story to create tension between characters.
She's there to like Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto.
They don't make a great character in my mind, and so the choice to give her plenty of characterization in the lead up to the exams was exactly what I thought she needed. This feeling of being less than, being left out, and not having the belief in herself to press onward, to have the courage to fail. For me, this injection of doubt and conflict in her mind not only made sense given her company and what she has done,
the sound ninjas,
but also because it gave her the chance to rally herself right before the application process ended. It helped me build a relationship with her as a character, which was exactly where I thought she was lacking. And now, as this trio
interesting, he's really going at an approach of like defending Sakura as this goes on, because he probably knows she's got loads of hate. Which is fine, that's cool, I like it. It's just, he seems to be talking about Sakura a lot more than like I feel is needed.
I guess it's time to start.
Okay.
Chunin preliminary exams.
Yo.
Within the story, there are 3 preliminary exams. exams, followed by the finals. Dozens and dozens of cell groups enter, and only a handful of participants will make it past these prelims. I've seen many tournament or exam arcs in my day, but none like this. There's an element to this that really makes it stand out, and I plan on addressing it as I go. So, let's start with the first test. The written exam. As soon as I gathered that the focus of this arc would be an exam where students and future prospects would face each other in what I assume
Kabuto, if only they knew.
hand-to-hand combat for the chances of promotion.
Ooh, is that Your Name on Netflix? That keeps getting recommended everywhere.
Storytelling devices or settings are these which follow a predetermined and easily understood format. Tournaments and exams all offer wonderful moments for
mate, what a tournament arc. One Piece and the Dressrosa arc.
And given that Kishimoto was a massive fan of Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball, I wasn't surprised in the slightest that just like his idol, Kishimoto's second arc too featured a similar format.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Progressing to later rounds.
It's
However, what I wasn't anticipating
excuse me. It's the easiest way to introduce multiple characters as well, isn't it? Like, I appreciated Hunter x Hunter throwing in multiple characters for the Battle Royales and that.
There's nothing wrong with this approach, and many have used it effectively. Dragon Ball was one of the earliest adopters of this format, and in being such, was quite straightforward and by the books in its approach. However, when I saw that Kishimoto wrote the first part of this exam to be a written paper test,
yeah, you kind of think, what?
Yeah. I think I laughed out loud when faced with the concept initially. The idea that he would attempt to make entertaining something as mundane and visually boring as writing felt
it
not only like
works.
suicide, but also grabbed my attention the same way a train wreck might. Different series have made writing compelling in the past, like Death Note, but I couldn't
Yeah,
see
Death Note
like
really did manage to make it work, didn't it?
Naruto. A paper test just seemed like a bad idea, but I could
Works.
have been more.
It works. We get to see everyone's techniques.
Not only was this going to work as an interesting section of the story, but it was, I think, a genius and unique utilization of this story's particular strengths. I'm specifically referring to its premise and themes. And once I caught on to the fact that they were being encouraged to cheat in order to pass, coupled with
That
Naruto's
was class,
innate
yeah.
ability to understand abstract concepts at the best of times, made not only for a compelling set of humorous and dramatic scenes, but present what I thought was one of the most brilliant challenges possible for a ninja-themed exam. I would never have thought of it, and something like this can only really work in a story like this about
Oh,
ninja
Hinata,
training.
she liked him
It's
the
so
whole
damn
time
good.
from the
This
beginning.
exam's format follows in principle a very similar path to that of the old Tenkaichi Budokais from early Dragon Ball, wherein the preliminary matches before the main course set up the rivalries established.
Yeah, we gotta know who is gonna be fighting each other, or who wants to fight each other. Like,
2000s, that particular format was somewhat tired and done. This innovation on those principles in this new setting offered all the same benefits in a new way I've never experienced. In the last video, I never understood the love some people had for the character of Sakura, but with the introduction of these written exams, my opinion on her completely changed. In addition to helping establish new characters like Gaara, Hinata, and Lee, it also made me do a 180 on the character of Sakura with her intelligence on full display, proving to us that she's more intelligent than even Sasuke, carving out her own little niche in the group.
is she though? I mean, she is. Yeah, okay.
The examiner does the unthinkable. He presents the class with a dilemma. Either take question 10, get it wrong and fail, or bail now and try again next year. Apart from this once again taking me off guard with its immediate high stakes, the philosophy that came from it not only once again felt appropriate for the themes and setting of this world, but again highlighted all the strengths of the Naruto character himself. The character that looked the worst during this written portion ended it with
He's
the most
so
by
determined.
himself in a different way. And so, taking a step back to appreciate everything this section achieved, these prelims, both right before and after successfully highlighted the main antagonists, established the strengths.
Yeah, we know who's going in and who's wanting to fight who and what everyone's like.
I've read every Dragon Ball tournament, the Hunter exams of Hunter x Hunter, and the opening arcs of My Hero Academia, but none came even remotely close to the level of efficiency and creativity these chapters impressed me with. Major kudos to Kishimoto for this section. It's no small feat to tick all the boxes the way he's done here. Comfortably, it is my favorite part of the story so far.
Awesome.
Oh,
mate. Gaara's brutal.
Interesting to say the least. While less focused in the prior and slightly more conventional, the opportunities this Hunger Games-esque type format offered should be clear. There's a reason TV shows like
There's a lot of stakes like raised in this bit. Oh my god. And then other stuff going on like with the curse mark and that and Orochimaru and stuff. It's like, ah.
And this challenge was no different. However, funnily enough, this was a challenge that really helped me come to grips with some of the more more intense themes of the story. And at first, I didn't completely understand. In the prior exam, Ibiki, the lead examiner for the written test, said before that test that, and I quote, "From this point there will be no more fighting without the express permission of the examining officer, and even if that permission is granted, anything that endangers another applicant's life is strictly forbidden."
Oh.
It seemed straightforward enough, I thought, no killing each other. And as the remaining kids...
Doesn't seem it though when you get into that forest.
My mind's immediate first thought was that this must be a bluff on behalf of the examiners to create a high-stakes
To make
situation
them
for their future young
think they can't.
talents. I thought,
Yeah.
okay, they each get one of two types of scroll and must retrieve the second type within the allotted time. I immediately thought an interesting concept would be that they all had the same color scroll and that those that managed to listen to the prior rules outlined by Ibiki would survive.
Oh, yeah, that would have been an
Others
interesting
would pressure and
approach.
take more drastic measures as time went on. Or something like that. There were countless directions for it to go, and it ended up going in a direction I never saw.
Yo. Yeah, like, screw the rules.
In an effort to try and elevate the story, I overthought the story, while it ended up delivering one of the most straightforward blows that shook me to my very core. I should put this on a shirt at this point for how frequently I say it, but placing characters under pressure is a great mechanism to help build a relationship between your characters and the audience reading or watching.
Yes.
Everything that transpires in moments of high stress and high stakes feels authentic.
It
can make
definitely
a bad
does. I
character
agree with
feel
that, my
evil
God.
and a good character feel more righteous.
Force
And in
them
these
into a
high-pressure
situation.
scenarios, Kishimoto reveals that the person attacking the group of Sakura, Naruto, and Sasuke is a murderer. It's a chilling revelation.
Orochimaru, man.
The entire vibe of the exam.
Such a
Someone
sick
by the name of
villain.
Orochimaru has stolen the face of an examinee, killing them in the process.
Identity theft is not a joke.
He's someone of tremendous danger and one far above the likes of Naruto and Sasuke in skill. Orochimaru is unlike any of the other characters I've encountered in this
Yep.
series. In the same way Zoro felt when he first tangled with Mihawk back on the Baratie, I felt like this encounter was equally as unexpected and
He is so
enormous
out of their
ability
league.
There's a tremendous amount of emphasis placed on Sasuke as he's the target of
I mean, just by fear, he just feels the fear itself, and he's just like, I gotta go.
Once Orochimaru leaves his mark on Sasuke, reveals that he knows more than he's letting on concerning his past, and places Sakura in a situation that actually made me feel so much sympathy for her, I was left a little stunned. Within a single chapter, Kishimoto flipped the script on this entire exam,
Yeah.
downing both Naruto and Sasuke, thus placing a tremendous amount of pressure on Sakura. With no one to rely on, exhausted from lack of sleep, and terrified of everything around her for fear of what might happen to Sasuke and Naruto, she stays by their side as vigilant as she can be. It's an incredibly endearing set of scenes that demonstrate her strengths brilliantly. When the cards were down and she needed to protect her friends, she, without...
Yeah, I guess, yeah, okay. Forgot how much she actually did. Yeah, okay, Mark, I'm liking this approach. Rock Lee! Yeah, the music's so sick.
Begins a brilliant sequence of scenes dedicated to the struggle and tenacity of Sakura, builds up into a fight for survival, incorporating a host of different characters, revealing their backgrounds and motivations, for better or worse. Lee remains to be one of the best boys and most
He's sick.
likable
Rock Lee's
characters in
amazing.
this series,
My
fighting
God.
with his
Yes.
heart on his sleeve, God bless him. And I can't help but admit that I see a little too much of myself in him at times.
Aww.
And one of the is one that stayed with me for the longest time during the Force of Death sequence, drawing distinct and obvious parallels to the character of Naruto in his admiration for Sakura and his determination to improve and save those that need him.
And then Sasuke
in this sequence
gets a
appears
power
more
up.
vulnerable than ever before. There's a terrifying collection of scenes where something horrific is awoken within Sasuke, feeding off his desire for revenge.
Yeah, man.
Apart from
He
looking
feels a new
very
power,
impressive
and that's why
in
it's
the
like,
anime and the manga,
I want
this
more.
section
I need my
impresses me
revenge.
something I hadn't considered before. Another contrast Sasuke provides Naruto specifically in this series. Where Naruto has had a demon sealed away inside him without his consent and chosen to fight against it to make it his own, Sasuke has been given one specifically because of his goals and actions. Naruto's goals fight to free him from his prison, and Sasuke's serve to become his undoing.
Yeah.
Unlike Naruto, who wants to be the best he can be,
But no one
Sasuke
ever was.
specifically is more and more over the course of this story becoming more and more consumed both figuratively and
Oh my
literally,
God, he goes
by
too
his
far
desire to
sometimes,
kill
man.
his brother. And so,
Uh,
while this is just speculation, if he is to fulfill his role in the story, to contrast Naruto, it stands to reason that the closer Naruto gets to realizing his goal, Sasuke will become more and more consumed by his.
Oh, you
It's
have no
a
idea.
remarkable
Oh, you have no idea. Mr. Sandman. Gaara
Gaara's
kills people.
characterization is terrifying, and
Yep,
in this scene,
it
he
is
single-handedly crushes
creepy.
my prediction that killing would be off limits. What a messed up exam. Overall, taking into consideration the final segment of these Force of Death
Kabuto.
Hunger Scroll
Don't trust him.
games, the vibe I'm left with is one of hope that leaves me with a chill in my spine. We met and
Excuse
came
me.
to know so many wonderful characters in these challenges, saw each and every one of the main trio experience hardship only to rise to the occasion and overcome. Some more so than others, and it helped to establish in a rather mysterious fashion the most intimidating villain of the series. Continuing the trend from the previous written exam, while this one was much longer, it wasn't in any way less creative or action-packed in my opinion. These Chunin exams thus far have been an absolute treat and have given me everything.
Absolutely sick. Tuning exams are amazing.
Action, comedy, heart, and even tenderness through Iruka at the end as he welcomes his adoptive kid brother into his own leagues of journeyman ninjas. There's a palpable sense of love between these two characters and a wonderful sense of progression to boot. I loved this section, and overall with this Force of Death sequence, what an adventure. As a quick aside, something I want to keep my eye on is the examiner Anko that encountered Orochimaru.
Oh no, don't. She doesn't really do much.
So let's see how this progresses with her down the line.
No. Pretty much. Yeah. Okay, cool.
This changes
Yes.
everything I felt about the story of Naruto, and took what was, I thought, a more kid-friendly world and plunged it into a much more dark, screwed up, and politically universe, which isn't a bad thing at all. If anything, this creates a nice contrast with the plucky and upbeat persona of Naruto himself.
Definitely.
However,
He's a big kid in an adult world.
Things worth mentioning. Having children hunt and kill each other is kind of screwed up.
Yeah, definitely.
Even if
Hunger
for the
Games.
argument I want to remove my humanity from the equation and just look at this scenario through the eyes of a cold-blooded utilitarian, it's such a tremendous waste of future potential that could make something of themselves and serve their respective villages one day. I mean, I made the joke earlier about this Force of Death sequence being like the Hunger Games, but at least in that book series, people were selected for that, with only one person who volunteered to be the standout of the games themselves. There's a tragic nature to these events that paint shinobi as tools of destruction.
Yeah, then they are tools though that the villagers use.
In my previous video, I didn't touch on it very much, but the relationship between Haku and
Here we go.
Sakura is
Yes.
very much in keeping with this notion.
Yeah.
Haku viewed himself as a weapon to be used for the betterment
Oh,
of the
thank God he
person
touched
who
the
cared for him, and Zabuza too felt that way as a ninja, broadly speaking. It's tragic, it's horrific, and to hear the Hokage of all people speak so frankly about what they are fighting for, while interesting, is really unsettling in a lot of ways. Effectively speaking,
Bit of a messed up
confidently and
world.
candidly to the remaining successful and talented contestants about how disposable they are. In this world, events like the Force of Death, where they weed out the weaker ones, is normal, adding a much more sinister tone to the likes of Anko, who stated that she wanted to cut the numbers down by half, at least at the very beginning.
He's used that clip so many times. It is a funny clip though.
Concerning the lack of humanity, it's time for the tournament to further whittle down their numbers.
Alright.
Some significantly important matches and thrilling spectacles to be certain, but the majority of them weren't too interesting from a narrative point of view, so I'll only be sharing my thoughts concerning what caught my attention. Sasuke versus Yoroi. While short, I thought this fight between Sasuke and Yoroi did everything it needed to with the little it was given. But what makes this section interesting isn't necessarily the fight itself, but the conversation that follows between
Kakashi and Orochimaru,
And just
yeah, in the
like
background.
Hokage
Sick.
moments ago, his words, the arch-villain of the series so far, echo his exact sentiments concerning Shinobi in a sense, that these people are expendable. And we're reminded of this towards the end of
Oh,
Yoroi's
he's
fight
clogged
with
up by the
Sasuke
bugs,
as
isn't he, in that
fights his
fight? Yeah.
curse. And once again in Shino versus Zaku, a scene so powerfully punctuated by Orochimaru's one-time lackey getting his arms literally destroyed from the inside out. It's horrific and made all the worse as we're given a fleeting glimpse into the world of this young man's history with Orochimaru seconds before. This story
That's the problem. Orochimaru is so mean. He like builds people up to promise them the future and that he's going to give them everything, and then he's just like, nah, you failed, so whatever. You're good to a point. Sakura and Ino.
Sakura versus Ino. I never spoke about Ino earlier in this this video, despite her being directly involved in a number of scenarios, but Ino is another character that gets some decent shine and exposition here and a chance to show her true colours. From a foundational perspective, I enjoy her popular girl demeanour and character design, but just like Sakura in the last arc, she suffers from issues stemming from Sasuke being a massive driving force in her life. However, and this is a big however, she does offer Sakura a means to further distance herself from this mindset. Again, I want to reiterate that really liking a boy or someone in a story isn't a sin or even a bad thing necessarily, but what's made me like Sakura all the more lately has been her ability to fight against her demons, and in the case of her defense of Sasuke, her insecurities. Fighting tooth and nail to protect those she
Yeah,
cares
she's protecting both of them, weren't she? Yeah.
earning the respect of those around her. This was a brilliant moment from the Forest of Death, and it's one of the reasons why I found this fight against Ino to be so incredibly frustrating. Not because it's bad, far from it, it's amazing. There's a touching story filled with impactful gestures, symbolism, and touching character writing. However, there's also this. Now look, I understand that in some cases, particularly for the purposes of deception and espionage, leaning into some more feminine qualities or embracing said qualities is important for young female ninja prospects.
Right, but do you think this is too...
That makes sense as a concept, but Kishimoto, I found, whenever he tries to write a female character like a female character, he does so in a
too
fashion
much.
that convinces me he's never seen.
It's very stereotypical is what I was thinking of. Stereotypical is the word I was thinking of, yes.
Sakura's flowering personality and her independence, like when she takes off her headband, emblematic of her taking off the security blanket her one-time friend Ino gave her. And that's brilliant, but throughout this chapter, instead of these two having a meaningful rivalry over something philosophically profound or substantial like the other fights, I'm constantly reminded that this is a rivalry over Sasuke's affection.
Yeah.
However, looking past that, there's, as I said, so much to like about this fight. From its strategic action set pieces all the way to its terrific use of the way Kishimoto has depicted Sakura since the beginning, with her inner Sakura overriding Ino's control power. It's such a brilliant and creative idea.
Yeah, but it's such a shame that
female character writing isn't his
that
suit,
doesn't stick. It's so annoying. It's a great idea for her, and it just doesn't stick as a thing.
But at the end of the day, it's still the best fight so far, and I think what I like about this section of the arc really is how much emphasis it places on the secondary and supporting characters. While Naruto does pick up the victory in his bout later on, there's not a tremendous amount that happens.
And he wins by a fart. Here we go. Yeah. His smell is so sensitive. The fart beats him.
Trust me, there's a balls to the wall fight to end all fights in this section in a second. This fight first between Hinata and her cousin Neji totally took me off guard and turned out to be incredible. I had no idea the quiet girl and this person I didn't know the name of before would have one of the best fights of the tournament.
It's sick, absolutely sick.
Resentment with heaps of political undertones broiling right beneath the surface as Neji expresses her resentment towards Hinata's family branch, all the while Hinata tries to overcome her shortcomings and timid nature to give Neji a far more competitive bout than anyone ever expected from her. She's been one of the only classmates of Naruto to actually show him some admiration and respect
she
when it's due.
loves him, man.
This fight has echoes of what made Naruto special because of that. She's able to recognize what makes him strong, and all throughout this arc, she's sort of being the only characters to believe in or care for him. And during this fight, the dominoes fall, and I come to realize why. She wants that sort of self-belief for herself. It's easily...
Yeah, she fights for her. She is not fighting for anyone else. She's trying to prove to herself she can do it.
Hinata, Kishimoto managed to write a more compelling female character than the likes of perhaps Sakura and certainly Ino.
Definitely. Oh, here we go.
Gaara versus Rock Lee. Before going into this fight, without knowing the source of these names, I had heard through the grapevine that Gaara versus Rock Lee was something special.
Hell, yeah it is.
Anime it came from, but
drop those words.
It was mentioned during the Forest of Death exam that Gaara's sand abilities happen without him needing to think, and this turns out to be the antithesis of Rock Lee, who had to work for every single thing he ever achieved. Unlike Gaara,
he's worked so goddamn hard. He hasn't got anything given to him.
As if he were a master of Ultra Instinct, but the initial back and forth between these two fighters plays to the advantages this setup provides too. Gaara is set up to be this immovable object, this unbeatable foe, one that has never even had an attack land on him.
He's never felt pain.
Not only see what Gaara versus Rock Lee is,
oh, drop the weights. Show the clip.
approaches to work.
Show the clip. Oh.
versus hard work for earned power. A tale as old as time, certainly, and it's performed to tremendous effect here. A genius versus a genius of hard work. There's short glimpses we get to see into Lee's early life that paint a very similar picture to that of Naruto's upbringing. Surrounded by naysayers yelling at him
Because he
to quit,
can't
reprimanding him
use
for his failings and insulting him
ninjutsu,
for his lack
so
of
he
natural
masters the
ability.
tai
When his
jutsu.
master guy walked up to him and called him a
Here's
genius
how
of
you
hard
wear a
work,
tie,
I
boy.
actually teared up a little bit.
That was terrible.
It's
I
such
know.
a moving sentiment that really captures the essence of this character. And in this fight, Rock Lee just goes full-blown fucking Kaioken.
Yeah, man.
This is the coolest shit ever. I haven't spoken about this much as of yet, but the choreography and scope of this particular fight is unlike anything I've seen from this series to date. There are some absolutely breathtaking layouts, and the philosophical message brimming with hope, promise, and determination is enough to win my affections many, many times over. And all of this is turned up to
The
11
introduction to the
anime's
gates as well, like, ooh.
Thankfully, my team gave me specific episodes they deemed as must-watch episodes.
Ah, sick. So I've actually seen how it's animated as well. Oh.
Experience, and Gaara vs. Rock Lee is remarkably well produced.
Hell yeah, it is.
Particularly for the early 2000s with its use of CG backgrounds. If you happen to have seen my Attack on Titan video, AJ
I
wrote a
haven't.
section about one of the earliest usages of 3D.
You see, I might though, once the anime finishes, I might check out the full review. It's like a 3-hour long video, isn't it? And then there's the final chapter as well.
In that show. And it was this particular episode that kicked things off. Directed by Toshiyuki Tsuru, who I've been told is a legendary name in this franchise, this episode switches things up by swapping to 3D backgrounds, which, although haven't aged well in places, did allow for some spectacular ambitious sequences from the likes of iconic animator Norio Matsumoto.
It looks sick as hell, man. It's so good.
This was possible on a TV schedule back in the early 2000s is astonishing. Turns out that it was Matsumoto who also animated the amazing sequences in The Force of Death episode I was told to watch, and that was insane. I've been absolutely loving the choreography in the manga, so to see these legendary staff members
like
elevate
pull it off,
further
yeah.
material was really cool. AJ's got me set up with all the animation highlights for the future, so I'm definitely excited
Awesome.
to see
Yeah, rah, 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 rah.
the manga. As wonderful as Gaara is a dancing partner in this instance to bring out the best of Lee, it's Lee's mentor Guy that ends up carrying the bulk of this bout's emotional weight along with his lovable, precious protege. You can see in his eyes that what Lee represents and is fighting for matters greatly to him. That he not only can look on and enjoy the show, but is very much inspired by this young kid too.
Yeah, they both push each other on forwards.
I've seen so far in the series, and Kishimoto managed to achieve this level of personal, emotional involvement from me without using any of his main characters. Utterly spectacular stuff.
Jiraiya! Yes.
This section of the story is largely set up with it primarily providing us with the chance to catch up with the plot lines concerning Orochimaru's plan to
Yeah, there's a little bit of a break, isn't there, for everyone to like level up.
Various finalists preparing in their own ways for their respective upcoming final bouts in the Chunin Exams. This is all fun and enjoyable, but it's rather standard. However, while reading through this section, I did find something worth perhaps remarking upon. A large portion of this waiting phase is spent following Naruto's preparation to fight in these final matches. In these, he trains with a flamboyant mentor called Jiraiya who can summon a giant frog. It's humorous at times despite the fan service, however what's interesting about this is what it made me notice. I've mentioned this before, but Akira Toriyama's Dr. Slump and Dragon Ball were massive influences on Kishimoto and Naruto by extension. And nowhere was this more obvious to me than with this specific scene.
Oh. Whoa.
Years back, I wrote a series of videos wherein I attempted to break down how I understood
They're
certain
good
characters
videos.
in the Dragon Ball series worked. What made the likes of
Well,
Vegeta,
the good old
Piccolo,
days.
Frieza, and many others tick in a sense. And in them, I pointed out that one of the most simple and effective narrative mechanics Toriyama implemented was through the character of Son Gohan, highlighted perfectly in this scene.
Piccolo pushes him to, forces him to, do what he needs to do.
Reserves of strength only brought forth through danger.
Yeah.
And it looks as though in his admiration of Dragon Ball, he created in Naruto a character with the determination of Goku, but with the mechanics of Son Gohan.
I never thought about that. That's an interesting take. Okay, yeah, I'll take that.
Mentor, and it's not hard to see the similarities with that of Akira Toriyama's early material.
Yeah.
But where this scene and Naruto Naruto himself deviates as a character comes moments after he's thrown. In the case of Gohan, his inner power was ill-defined and left to occupy our minds as pure speculation. It never came from anywhere other than
Gohan.
Ironically,
Yeah.
he has more of a claim to a chosen one type power than Naruto does in this way. In Naruto's case, Kishimoto decided to depict a scene inside Naruto's mind, where he confronts his literal inner
Demons. Yeah, right, okay,
I
yeah.
thought this was a really cool idea and one I didn't think would happen. It's brief, but even so, it's full of character. Naruto doing what he does best when he's caught off guard. Act tough, resulting in the intimidating beast trapped within to acquiesce and lend Naruto the necessary chakra to save his own and by extension the Fox Spirit's life. It's definitely one of
Yeah, because
the most
obviously
interesting
Kurama doesn't want to die
Naruto
either.
characters
Yeah.
thus far, and I was extremely excited to see where this one went.
Kaiju Frog.
こいつに個人的な恨みでもあんのか。そんなものはない。ただ俺が殺しておきたいから殺す
Straight up.
I thought the purpose of this scene was brilliant. Isolating what makes Gaara tick as a person, and just like I pointed out with the likes of Haku in the first arc, Naruto seems to have a great emotional maturity for these particular kinds of lost toy characters, empathizing with their situation, even in the case of Gaara, where he's saying some of the most reprehensible stuff, mirroring the main character, offering an example of him in an alternate world through the likes of a more unfortunate
Yeah, like what would have happened if he didn't have the people around to look after him and help him. What if he didn't have friends?
Naruto is a character that's designed to sort of look better when he's punching up, fighting on the back foot like Gohan was. Effectively, whenever an opportunity presents itself to show courage. And this is a character that, due to Naruto's intimate understanding of what makes him tick, knows the lengths of how far he's willing to go. Naruto's been a character that shows a brash bravado in practically every encounter he's participated in, even up against the nine-tailed fox spirit. The reason he feels comfortable in doing so is for a myriad of reasons, but one particularly stands out in this case. More often than not, he knows he's willing to push himself farther than anyone because he needs to. But now he's met someone that's just as willing to do that, and suddenly, Naruto starts to shake. Brilliant scene. Similar to Sasuke in this sense, this is a villain that's tailor-made to make Naruto look amazing.
Yeah.
Placing him on a back foot we don't often see him perform on, and I can't wait to see this fight now.
Oh, mate.
Chunin Final Exams. I'm going to be glancing over some of these fights in the same way the manga did. While there were story reasons for one of them being entirely skipped over narratively, I really did feel like all the emphasis was on these two fights between Naruto and Neji and Sasuke and Gaara.
Definitely. Jesus Christ, the focus was definitely on these two fights. Oh, I can't wait to get his opinion on the Naruto and Neji fight.
But with that said, he had a decent showing for a chapter or two with some fun and creative action sequences. I really liked his shadow speciality and its implementation in this fight specifically. It's super fun and he's super smart.
He's
so smart, I'm gonna throw up, hold on.
He's dead smart.
Naruto versus Neji.
Oh, here we go.
This fight shows firsthand to Neji, someone that believes someone's fate is determined at birth, that you can change your fate. All of Naruto's life, he was told that he would be nothing special. That even if he did have potential, he was a cursed child burdened with a fox spirit. And right now, in this fight, Naruto uses this as a strength. I loved watching this fight, and honestly, it might be the best Naruto fight thus far that I've seen. Kishimoto has done a terrific job of providing this young kid with a host of interesting adversaries to fight
with lots of different techniques and stuff. Like, yeah, it's class. Everyone's got something else going on. It's cool, isn't it?
To Naruto, as he shares a similar background, but went a different direction in his life. But Neji, on the other hand, instead of having a similar upbringing, channels a philosophy that runs counter to Naruto's. Obsessed with and convinced that everyone's fate is predetermined.
Yeah.
That they are all hamsters running on wheels against a tide that none of them could possibly overcome or overturn. The exact opposite of Naruto's mindset. And showing this orphan child
Like, you can change fate.
to grab the victory was powerfully cathartic, with him effectively using all of his weak points and insecurities as strengths against his opponent. And by the way, when Naruto erupts from the floor with that massive uppercut to take out the pompous
That was cool.
Neji, I actually punched my fist to the sky and shouted, "Yes!" It's a brilliant fight, and
It
for
is
the
cool.
first time, this one-time loner receives the adulation of his peers. Once mocked for who he was, the determination
People are now
he
starting to
showed
notice
in
him,
the face of
and
adversity
yes,
has
he feels
delivered
good.
him the stage that he deserves. A victor's welcome. The message of this fight being believing in possibilities can give you the power to change your destiny. what an empowering and uplifting philosophy. Sasuke versus Gaara.
Oof.
Something I've noticed in this manga, particularly this week after I had to read like 9 volumes of them, is that there aren't really that many full-page spreads. Kishimoto's paneling doesn't feel cluttered, but he doesn't often go all out with it.
No, he spreads them out very, very well.
That can be a strength, as seen in this fight here. He really goes out to make this feel like the spectacle it deserves to be. Ever since the 1-month training began, Sasuke has had a question mark hanging over his head. After what he went through in the Forest of Death and the qualifiers immediately thereafter, when he eventually shows up for this final showdown with Gaara, we learn that he's been training with Kakashi, and the way the two of them are revealed on the page has a terrific sense of occasion thanks to Kishimoto's framing. The fight, in addition to that, gets a tremendous amount of shine too, and for all
I really do feel as though, like, part 1, the first 27 volumes, get better paneling treatment than Shippuden does, but I might be wrong. Like, it's been a while since I've read them, but I do have fond memories of the first 27 volumes just being so much better than 28 onwards. Oh no, the other thing that's going on in the background!
This arc has been utterly spectacular and has shown me tons of stuff both to analyse and keep in mind moving forward. There's a massive political upswing in this upcoming material, I feel, and
Orochimaru.
most likely. It's going to be amazing, and if you don't want to miss my first impressions and review of that material, don't forget to subscribe.
Can't wait to see it.
But until then, I've been Totally Not Mark. I'll see you all next week, and thank you so much for watching.
Can't wait to see it. This is so fun to sit through, seeing someone go through that's like, oh, mate. Right, where's the joke there? A raccoon dog. Anyway, that was fun. Initially I was like, he's talking about Sakura too much, but I feel like he's talking about Sakura, like, enough. Like, I forgot how actually quite integral Sakura was written originally. I think it's just in Shippuden where it starts to fade off, but I could be wrong. But this is a nice little reminder of the story, and it's nice to see Mark read through this first time, get his opinion. It's class, it's cool. Chunin Exams, amazing. And this is cool. I'm really, really enjoying this. And like I said, I promise One Piece reviews will be back next week. I'm nearly caught up to where I need to be to watch his One Mark reviews. Anyway, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, links in the description of the Patreon page. $1 a month always helps support the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching. And thank you all for watching. What do you think of that? Oh, I'm terrible. This outro's awful. Anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.